Good morning, everyone. My name is Lenny Reich. I'm the Assistant Athletic Director for Communications at the University of Mount Union. But today I'm representing the Ohio Athletic Conference, and I am pleased and honored to be presenting the Bill Nichols Service Award and presenting that award today to Cleveland Plain Dealer sports writer and columnist Terry Pluto. The Bill Nichols Award is named after there it is.
There it is.
The award is named after Bill Nichols, the longtime writer and columnist for the Plain Dealer, and this award given in service to the Ohio Athletic Conference. So, Terry, welcome and thanks for joining us.
I'm glad to get it, and that's the reason I held it up. And my wife will tell you there aren't too many awards I put up, but I am going to put this one up because Bill is special to a lot of us, especially whether it's old Ohio Conference people or old Plain Dealer people, because he just – he represented a lot of what's good in human beings and what's good in journalism. And so I've always respected that. He started covering the Cavs, but where he was really, at his most comfort level and had so much fun was doing the Ohio Conference and the small colleges.
Yeah, I'll say 10 years ago when we had this idea for recognizing media and sports information directors with this award, it was a no-brainer who to name the award after just because of Bill's passion and Bill's dedication to small college athletics, and especially the OAC, as he was a BW grad and he taught classes at some of the schools and was really somebody that was dedicated to the Ohio Athletic Conference.
And he chose to do it, Lenny. That was another key thing because he did the Cavs for many years. Then afterwards, they kind of like, what do you want to do? And, he could have maybe got on the Ohio State beat or something like that. When you do the Cavaliers for more than 10 years like he did, it clearly means they respect your talent. They're putting you in situations where it's not just, let's farm them out to the small colleges. He wanted to do it. And he has so much fun. I remember one year he kind of helped coach one of the teams and he was happier with that because I think he felt there's a lot of pressure covering a pro beat. And you're not always around maybe some of the most favorite people you'd like to be around. Where the great thing when you do small colleges, like whether Bill did it or even I, you can kind of pick your stories. And, you hear that's a good story going on at BW, or that's what's happening at Mount Union. Hey, I'm bored. I'll go talk to Mike Moran and John Carroll. He always is entertaining. Things like that, where if you're stuck with one pro team, it could be like a really good or bad marriage, depending how things are going.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, you have covered, Super Bowls, Final Fours, World Series, NBA Finals. You've talked to some of the greatest athletes to play in all those sports. Yet you've always done columns and stories and features on small college athletics, and particularly the OAC. And so has it really been the people and things that have brought you back around to that every time?
Yes, because what you can do at that level is spend a lot of time with people if you need it. Everybody's not going to get $1 million contract, and they know it. You're talking to a guy that 10 years later is either going to be working in the fire department, he's going to be teaching, he could end up being your doctor. Those type of things. The coaches seem to go on forever. I mean, we know how you and I both know Larry Karras well. He turned down chances to move to higher levels. You talk to some of the guys who are at Division I, and they say it was a lot more fun in Division III. They mean it, but unfortunately, it's one of those things like it's kind of like teaching or whatever. Gee, it's a lot of fun to teach, but the paycheck isn't as good as it would be at a higher level. But you still say, hey, I do like both. And the blessing for me is I get the big league paycheck, and I bet the big league games. But being a columnist, I can choose to step away from it. Very few people in my position do that, and I don't get it. I really don't. I think, doing one or two of those a month, and I always view it actually from, like, say, the Mid-American or Cleveland State on down is good. Once you get above that, you're into the Power 5 conferences. That feels like the pros to me in a different way. And the OAC is a special place in my heart because the three schools, Carroll, BW, and Mount Union, are all in our backyard. And there's a lot of graduates from all three. And even when if I write about Sherry Harrier, the BW women's coach, I've done that a few times. And it's amazing the number of internet hits you get. And then who is the at your school at Mount Union? Who was the kid that's like the social media star on the basketball team?
Oh, Devontae Friga.
Devontae Freeman and the coach there, and I went out and did that. That was a lot of fun. And this bothers, I mean, some of the MAC schools and that, but a story like that, or something on Sherry, or one of these, or even John Carroll say about Mike Moran, that will get more internet hits than a lot of, say, columns I've done on the MAC or elsewhere. I think because it doesn't get it right away, but you look at the end of a week or two and you see the total number, you go, and believe me, they count everything these days. You go, that's a surprise, but I guess it's the feeling of the graduates, and they pass it around.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly the same way I think we feel about it. I think we as SIDs and also the athletes themselves, when somebody like you or whatever else want to come and talk to them, they really perk up and they get excited about it, and it makes for a great thing for all of us. Now, you and I could spend way too long telling Bill Nichols stories or whatever, since you and I both knew him, you a lot more than I did, but I was fortunate enough to get to meet him and hang out with him a few times. What one thing or one anecdote sticks out to your mind about Bill or about your time with Bill?
He was almost to a fault worried about getting things wrong. I mean, he could make himself really nervous almost about anything. And it's like, Bill, you've been doing this for 100 years. I'm sure it's fine, because part of him was he was a person who liked to please people. He didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And if he talked to he understood this. Like if you go and talk to a kid at Mount or at BW or wherever, he doesn't get a lot of stories done on him. And the last thing you want to do is misspell his name, mess it up, or whatever. I mean, somebody said a long time ago, whether you're doing high schools or small colleges, it isn't so much now in the internet age, but for a long time, you're writing for scrapbooks. The kid in high school who's being recruited by Ohio State, there's lots of stories on him. But even the kid at Mount Union, other than say your never-ending list of small college quarterbacks keep going. An All-American small college or Division III All-American defensive tackle doesn't get that many stories done at him, or that star basketball player on the women's team at BW, doesn't get that many stories done. And Bill felt like almost an obligation to get it right. He would get himself all nervous, and I know more than once said, "Bill, just relax, just write it." I mean, here I'm the younger guy telling the older guy that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember I played golf with Bill one time and hearing stories about him when he was the official scorer for the Indians and coming up from the dugout and all these other things.
Oh, yeah.
Those kind of things. So
I mean, what I've really enjoyed, I remember a lot of times with Division III say, well, can I listen to your pregame talk? And I remember Kara said, this was before like a playoff game. It wasn't the Stag Bowl, but it was like the Final Four or whatever. And Larry Kara said, fine, it won't be much. And he's right. I went in there, and the assistant said a little bit, and he said, well, we could lose this game on special teams. Don't screw up the special teams. And then he walked out. And with those words ringing in their ears, they went out and won 42-6, But it was funny. But I actually asked him, he said, if you get to before the game and you have to kind of go through everything, you're in big trouble. If you don't have it all done, you better he said he would just remind them of one or two things, and that was it.
Now, you brought up Coach Karras and people like Mike Moran. Now, those people have just recently, retired. And, obviously right now the future of college athletics is definitely as more uncertain than ever. But I mean, obviously, where do you think things are going? And then obviously with, this league, I think, like we said, we keep coming back to people and some of the people that in this conference that that are obviously have gone by the wayside and where we're headed, I guess. So.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to need to raise up a new thing of giants, and a lot of times, out of need and out of strife and turmoil, people do rise up. The old thing, Abraham Lincoln was a big joke when he got elected. They used to call him, the big monkey and all that. He ends up being one of the greatest presidents ever in the middle of that. Now, I'm not saying what we're facing is quite the Civil War, but this is a huge the house of college athletics, from the penthouse at Alabama to to the basement or whatever in the Division III, has been turned upside down, economically and everything else. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but it's going to take strong leaders, not just bureaucratic leaders in the league office, but people in the athletic departments, the assistant coaches, everything else. People willing to pay the price. Say, how are we going to redo this? But there's a need for these programs to go on, and for the kids to play. I did actually play. Well, I'm primarily staff. I was on the baseball team at Hiram, Division III, for a year. I'm a retired 500 hitter in Division III.
There you go.
So there you go. But I mean, I've even got a picture to prove I was there. So the point being, it's fun, and that was an opportunity for a lot of kids, and I'm looking forward to it. But as you said, we've lost a number of the Titans, the Karras family, and Moran. Now Pete Moran's at Carroll with the basketball program there. I'm very interested to see what Baldwin Wallace. Well, obviously Sherry Harris is still on the Mount Rushmore. The young basketball coach, I like it. His name escapes me right now.
Tom Heel, the basketball coach.
Yeah, I was real impressed with him a couple of years ago. I did a story on him, and also Mount's coach. Again, I'm having another senior moment.
That's all right. Mike Fuline, Matt Hume's coach.
Yeah, I remember the kid there, and so I think those where you're going to see it going, and then we'll see. Mount continue to have a. I know it bothers some in the Ohio Conference to have Mount so dominating at football, but it is really great to have like the 27 Yankees or one of these powerhouse programs in your conference. It just is, because it does bring a lot of attention to it.
Well, and I think there's one of the great things about the conference is there's a sport that every member seems to have a sport that they can excel at a national level. Muskegon in softball, and Marietta right now in men's basketball, and then obviously Mount Union with its stuff, BW and Ohio Northern in a lot of sports as well. That that group of schools have sports that they can hang their hat on. But it's definitely the people, and I think the continuity of the conference that I think will help them weather this storm. We haven't had wild swings in membership changes. Yeah. Schools coming and going and those kind of things, and that should help us with that. I'll get you out on
one other thing too. Part of the reason, because of the stability of the conference, and writing out of Cleveland or Akron, either place I've been, that made it easier for me to go write about it, because it was a strong powerhouse D3 group of schools. It wasn't just a bunch of schools thrown together to play. And then changing it 5 years later, as you said there. And a lot of the coaches did stay there for a long time. Now, I wrote primarily basketball and football because that's what I was interested in. So I didn't know, but I was aware that a lot of these other schools are very good. Wittenberg's, there's been a lot of different good OAC schools in different sports. And it will go on. I think some of the other schools in these kind of smaller conferences that change a lot, it's going to be very hard for them to see what it looks like and see how many sports they're going to be playing after all of this.
Yeah, I think I think people don't realize necessarily small schools, the impact that athletics has on the whole institution when it comes to tuition revenue and comes to making kind of the campus go. And if athletics takes a big hit, that's a big hit to the entire institution, especially at a level where there isn't a big television contract or those kind of things that come along with things. But I'll get you out on one last thing. Obviously, this award is chosen by the sports information directors in the conference. So aside from having to deal with me, the other professionals, the real professionals in the conference. But talk about the group of sports information directors, also kind of long time folks that have worked at these schools, and obviously, like I said, they were the ones that bestow this award on folks. So.
Well, the way Chris Wensler, that was a tough one. I got to know. I wrote a story about he and Kevin Ruppel both when they were fighting cancer, and Kevin's moved. I believe he's now officially retired at BW. Mm-hmm. Chris passed away. Yourself, I've known for a long time. Mike DeMatteis before you. So those were the primary ones that I knew. And they were helpful, and I'm glad that just glad to have you go out there, and it's a relaxing thing for me to do these stories to not just meet the coaches and players, meet some of the people that the athletic directors or things when you go out to the schools. Because the fact is, when I'm doing the Browns or doing the Indians, and now in a world where they do count every internet hit, in a world where, I've gone through 12 layoffs since the year 2000 in my business. 12 sets of layoffs survived. And so I'm glad to be able to keep going. And I always say sometimes when sports gets really ugly, I go do a small college story to take a shower.
well, like you said, we've probably glossed over a little bit on your career. You've been 4 decades now covering college and professional sports.
Right, I broke in covering Gettysburg. It goes that far. College battle.
A columnist. You've written how many? Over 30 books, correct?
Yeah, a lot of books. So.
A lot of books.
Yeah.
So just a distinguished career. And like I said, I speak for everybody in the Ohio Athletic Conference when we appreciate what having you around does for our coaches and student athletes and teams. And like we said, we're happy to give you this little token of appreciation.
Well, I appreciate it, especially with it being named after Bill Nichols, who, is as fine a human being as you're ever going to meet.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks, Terry. And thank all of you for joining us.